2 weeks ago, I uploaded a video in which I shared an email I had received. A subscriber named Thomas explained how he had everything he needed in terms of material and resources for information about technique, and yet he couldn't paint. He just had this fear of not being good enough, fear of painting. And I knew the video would be valuable to many, and I knew that because Thomas's experience was an experience I've had in the past. I figured that if it resonated with me, it could resonate with others as well. But I couldn't imagine how far the echo would travel and how many people it would reach. The reaction has been a transforming experience in multiple ways. For Thomas, first of all, and I think that it's important to follow up on his situation. So I just wanted to let you know that Thomas figured out his reason to paint, and here's what he wrote back to me. Dear Florent, with your email you set something in motion in my house. On the question why I want to be able to paint at all, I came after initial helplessness relatively quickly to the point and the clear answer. And the reason is because pictures and painting pictures fascinate me. Starting with the first cave drawings up to the painters of today, I can look at pictures for hours and try to soak up every detail. And then to paint a picture myself and to be able to follow my own preferences, to let the picture develop according to my own ideas, to become better and better, and if it's good enough to hang it up or give it away to somebody, that is pure joy. Thomas was blown away by the reactions. Reading the comments, he couldn't imagine how many people would relate. So thank you again to all of you for sharing words of encouragement, sympathy, or advice. This is the best part of social media. It's great that the people in the community can have each other's back. And I have to say that this video was also a transforming experience for me. I knew this subject was important, and this is why I made the video in the first place, but I never thought that it would touch so many people so deeply. I have received so many messages in email. I think I'll make other videos like this in the future because there are so many important things to talk about. Issues about acceptance, making art sustainable financially, fear of showing your art. I will of course continue making my technical videos, the tutorials, etc. But occasionally I think that I will share similar stories that I think can be valuable to other artists. I think it's really needed. There are words that really need to be heard. There are 3 things that I've learned from reading your messages. 1, creative anxiety is very real, and artists all have to stare into the abyss. 2, I've learned about avoidance strategies. And 3, I've learned that words help and you need to find meaning. Let me talk about the first point. Creative anxiety is real and doesn't just affect professional artists. It can affect everyone with creative intention. And why is that? It's not obvious. Well, you would think that, especially if you're just making art as a hobby, it should be pretty simple, right? You're doing that on your free time, so just pick up your brush and paint. But strangely, it doesn't work like that. Because there are no rules to this game. Well, if your hobby is to play football, you know the rules, so you can just enter the field and start playing. With art, not only are there no rules, but you have to keep reinventing your own rules for each painting. It's a contradiction in essence. There are no rules. You can draw anything you'd like. But you also have to set up some rules because you can't draw everything there is to draw. You need to make a choice, and if possible, a meaningful choice. It's very strange. You have total freedom to draw anything you'd like, but deciding what you'd like to draw means excluding all the other things you could have decided to draw instead. And there's an infinite number of those. As an artist, this is what you do. You're looking into the abyss. There's complete chaos down there. An infinite number of possibilities, pure potential. And you can pretty much do anything you want. But it is also very frightening because you have no idea what's down there. You don't know what to do with this infinite potential, and it's not even sure that you know exactly what you want. So it's just too much. People sometimes think that chaos is something like destruction, but it's not as simple. You don't have to destroy anything to face chaos. Chaos is also what comes before creation, what creation emerges from. It's the infinite potential that's just waiting for you to make something out of it. Your creativity wants you to jump into the abyss because chaos is the source of creation, but it's also the infinite territory of the unknown. And we are not all prepared to face this. So let me reach my second point. When you face this infinite potential, it's very natural to feel destabilized. Out of fear, you come up with avoidance strategies. And by reading the messages of the community and comparing to my own experience, I have learned more about these strategies. A very common one is to hide behind technique. You keep the role of the eternal student, because at least there, with knowledge, there are rules. You just do your exercise and you just move on to the next one. At least this one is productive, and when you feel ready, you can make something interesting. But there's a negative counterpart to this strategy, and it is to use lack of knowledge as an excuse to not even start at all, and that's bad. Another avoidance strategy consists in distracting yourself with other things to do, like making coffee or seeing what's new on Instagram instead of painting. It's pretty common, and if your subconscious is clever about it, you'll find things that are relatively important, like mowing the lawn or doing housework. Or, even more clever, something related to art but that's not creative, like buying art books, buying paint, stocking up on material. And it's really clever that it's not creative, so it's really about avoidance. And the final avoidance strategy that I've found is a sort of weird creative/destructive process that's somehow linked to perfectionism. Basically, you would start something, and the more you progress, the more you would start hating the little imperfections that no one else can see. And the most difficult thing with this one is that this strategy is actually partly useful for an artist. Being somewhat perfectionist allows the artist to improve the quality of the artwork. It's necessary to be a little bit of a perfectionist. But the counterpart is to become so perfectionist that you end up becoming self-destructive. Like, you start to hate yourself for the imperfections in your art, and it's a terribly vicious circle, so you have to avoid this at all costs. So what can you do about all this? How can you be creative without being stuck, without being distracted, without being destructive? What I've learned from Thomas's experience is that words help. write. If you feel that you've always wanted to make art, but you've been afraid, you've been avoidant, write. Describe your creative goals, your intentions. Describe the type of art that you like, the type of artist that you want to be. If you feel that you've been stuck, paralyzed before you can even start, then it might be a good idea to write down a couple of realistic objectives you can give yourself, short-term and long-term. Like, in 2 months, I want to paint a realistic apple really well, and in 5 years, I want to make this portrait of my mother that I've always wanted to make. And this is what Thomas did with different objectives, and so far he's followed his plan with great success. Also, you need to make sure to anticipate the difficulties. Think about what you can do if you don't reach your goals in time. You have to prepare for that. How can you avoid the obstacles along the way? And finally, as already said, but I'm going to repeat that because it's so important, you have to concentrate on meaning. Find your why, like Thomas. Write it down. Think about why it should matter that you paint what you want to paint. And it's not obvious at all. And Thomas is a perfect example of that. Pure joy, he wrote. The simple fascination for pictures. These are just words, very simple words, but they describe a very complex reality. Don't think that it's all obvious. Once you put a word on your simple fascination for pictures, you can understand what pictures fascinate you more than others, and you can start to understand why. And little by little, step by step, this new comprehension is going to impact your art and show you the way forward. So this is what I've learned from this video and this experience. I really wanted to thank you again for the support on this last video. I really wanted to thank you for Thomas, and I also wanted to wish you all well in your creative endeavors. I hope I can share other inspiring stories in the future. As artists, we all have to face similar problems, so whatever you think is affecting you is probably something that's also affecting other artists in some way or another. It's impossible to find a road without obstacles, but it's always possible to prepare to avoid them. Again, thank you very much for watching, and never forget to have fun drawing and have fun painting. Bye.